What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with Cheesehead TV and your Packers Daily Chat live wherever you are on the internet, because that's what we want to do for you. We're devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide, and especially the people who show up early for the chat. Hello, everyone. Aaron Harper Jr. with the perfect comment to start us off with, the Bears still suck. I mean, really, you don't even need to expound on it, really. It's just there, existing, living, telling the truth, living the dream. When will Nagler be right? Soon. That's a nod to Spaceballs there. Watching the best live stream? You betcha. That's what I like to hear, Will. There you go. Ooh, all right. Is there a chance Kenny Clark outplays himself out of Green Bay as far as his contract goes? I mean, an infinitesimal one. I don't doubt for a second that Brian Gutekunst and company, spearheaded by Russ Ball, are working on an extension. If not as we speak, then coming up here real soon. I can't imagine they're going to get too deep into 2019 without solidifying something long term. They've obviously got him under contract now with the fifth-year option for the next 2 years. But as my friend Ben Fennell put it on Twitter, don't let him fall into a 15-sack season and then all of a sudden have to pay him J.J. Watt money. I think he'll get paid handsomely. And I think the sooner they do it, the better. When is Grossi beating me in Madden? Next time he falls asleep, Andy. He has a dream about it. Any more great interviews coming up like yesterday's? I don't know. We'll see. Thanks for checking out my interview with Brian Gutekunst on Nagler's Never Right, exclusively available on the Cheesehead TV Patreon page. Anybody who wants to pony up $5 a month to support everything we do, including these here chats, more than welcome to listen to me gapping with with the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. Nags, what do you think about Ted Thompson's health? I don't think anything about it. I mean, I understand that people are curious and or supportive and want to know, but look, I just guess, there comes a point where I understand he's a public figure, but it's his health and it's his business. And I saw some people online today talking about, both fans and media, saying, well, Ted Thompson finally addressed his health, finally talked about his health, made a statement, finally, he didn't need to say anything. I've been fine him never saying a word, he or the Packers. It's nobody's business. I mean, I get it. Like I said, I get he's a public figure. I get people are obsessed with the team, etc. But Ted Thompson did not owe us an explanation at all. Obviously, I wish him all the best. Outside of that, I just want to honor his wishes and his call at the end of that statement for privacy. It's fine by me. Gaff, I can hear you, buddy. Just so you know. I saw Rodgers seems pumped about the new playbook. Eduardo, he does indeed. I put that clip up from Packers.com. That was from the availability prior to the draft. He was talking about the clips that they were showing in some of their offensive meetings about, all the possibilities in this offense. And as he pointed out, obviously they're cherry picking those to give the best impression and kind of give the optimal version of what the offense can do. Obviously it's never going to be like that down in and down out, but you got to be excited about the possibilities, and it certainly seems like Aaron Rodgers is. What will be the main narrative this year? Rodgers rides the defense or Rodgers returns to MVP form? Ooh, Michael. Asking for a crystal ball here in early May. I will say Rodgers returns to MVP form. How do I watch your Gutekunst interview? You don't watch it, Kumquat Savage. Great name. You can listen to it. It's in my podcast, which is at our Patreon page. If you go to patreon.com/cheeseheadtv, sign up to be a patron, and you'll get access. Do you think the Arizona quarterback is a backup this year? Aaron, you're talking about Manny. He of the number 5 edit, putting himself in Paul Hornung's jersey. I kid with Manny. Let's see him on an NFL field against NFL competition first before we start throwing out the possibility of him being the backup. I mean, I'm excited about the kid. Seems to like to sling it. I'm always behind that, but let's make sure that he can actually play first. Is Corey drinking beer yet? Charles, I don't know. He's out there somewhere. We're actually having a networking event here at LiveX tonight where some said beverages will be imbibed, so maybe he started already. I love Spofford's story about Ted Thompson during the Nick Collins pick 6 in Super Bowl 45. That was excellent, Nathan. I love the idea of Ted standing up in a quiet press box going, "That's our ball. That's our ball." I love that. How are you guys not credentialed yet? That is a fantastic question, and I direct you to Jason Wallers, the head of public relations, a VP, if you will, with the Green Bay Packers at 1265 Lombardi. It's his call. Boyle over Kaiser at QB2. Matub throwing it down here in early May. I guess it's possible. Anything's possible, really. Let's see how they compete and play out during camp. Obviously, nothing will get decided here in the spring, but I gotta, given how rough it looked for Kaiser last season, I can't imagine that it's not a wide open competition. And, Gutekunst kind of indicated that in my chat with him yesterday. Nags, you have to cut one. Josh Jones or Oren Burks. Zachary, I cut that question because it's nonsense. Let's go ahead and get to camp and compete. I'm not cutting them anybody based on what they did last year. It's all about progression. It's all about development. I mean, you asked that question last year, this time, I would have, give me, say, somebody else and Brady, I was going to say Brady Papinga. Oh my God. Kyler Fackrell. I would have cut Kyler Fackrell, and then we would have been out like 10 sacks. So let guys develop. Any news on Mo Wilkerson signing for another year or another defensive tackle? I think they probably handled that in the draft. I think when all 7 rounds were completed, the Packers are pretty much shored up at that position, and I'll be surprised if Wilkerson makes a return. Now, I don't doubt for a second that he will be on their speed dial, on their emergency board, if injuries start taking a toll, which probably works to his advantage because he had a pretty gruesome injury there in Washington in week 3 last year. So give him as much time to heal up as possible, see how things shake out on the roster this spring and into the summer. Maybe he gets a call. But right now, I think they're going to see what they've got on hand first. 10.5. Thank you, Matub. Respect King Sacral. I like. Burks is good depth. Oh, well, he could be. We'll see. He's got to take a jump. And that's something I asked Gutekunst specifically about both Oren Burks and Jamal Moore, 2 guys who, pretty significant draft capital spent there. They got absolutely nothing from them last season. You got to expect some kind of growth, development, contribution in year 2. He gave the answer I expected. They want development and growth from all their young players, which is what a GM should say. But yeah, I think you've got to see a little something from Burks early on, hopefully in camp, if not the first part of the season. Get him on the field a little bit more. Will LaFleur's offense be simpler for the wide receivers, not so many option routes and such? Yes and no. I think there'll be a lot less isolation. There'll still be option routes. I mean, that's just part of football. But I think there'll be a lot more working in concert, a lot more combo concepts that help them in regards to getting open, getting separation, etc. But at the end of the day, at some point in the NFL, you've got to get open. You've got to be able to beat the man across from you. You've got to work open, no leverage, be able to win in isolation. Those things will never change. But will they be given a little bit more help scheme-wise? Yeah, undoubtedly. Martinez is good off the bench. The #1 Martinez troll is here live, ladies and gentlemen. Pay him your respects. Any new hype on Summers? Oh, where's our friend the Ape? Jesus of the Apes is here. There you go. He'll give you all the hype you need on Summers. In 2 years, do you think Kiki will be starting next to Clark? Woo! That is a jump. Let's see him in pads against NFL level competition first. It's just me. I'm old school. If the Packers lose Daniels in free agency, do the Packers go after Terrell Worthy? I started reading that question. I was like, okay, this could happen next year. They could lose him in free, and then you got to Terrell Worthy. So I'll answer this question the only way I know how. No. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to in seeing LaFleur's offense? Eric, I got to admit, I'm really excited about the possibility of Aaron Rodgers being able to run bootlegs without a defender right in his lap. It's been a while since we got to see that. The history of this offense puts the quarterback on the run away from the flow of the action, gives him pretty delineated reads. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to eat in that regard. Rodgers seems to be pumped about the new offense. He does. I mean, he was in that instance, in that locker room setting. Who knows? We'll see what happens when he gets on the field, and maybe things are a little rusty / stubbing the toe out of the gate, and we'll see if that sunny demeanor remains. But it certainly seems like right now he's a kid in the candy store. Who is your pick for the slot and or wide receiver 3? I mean, I think Kumero's got as good a shot as anybody. And I know they'll run Devontae in there. They'll run MVS in there. They'll run EQ in there. They did all of that last year. But I think Kumero's the one guy who got a little shake and bake, a little ability there to make things happen in tight quarters out of the slot. But I do think you're going to see kind of a rotation there. I don't think there's going to be any one dedicated slot guy. Is Zadarius Smith more of an inside rusher? I don't know if I would categorize him as more of anything. I think he's going to be, his value comes in his ability to be utilized all over the defensive front. I think early downs, you'll definitely see him outside. And once you get into second and third and long, you'll definitely see him kick inside. I think he can be utilized that way and definitely productive in both settings, in both areas. But if you think, he's got to be better at one or the other, I don't think that's the case. I do think I like his tape inside a little bit more, but I think he can be effective all over the map. Shout out from Oshkosh. What's up, Norm? Who after Aaron is the best player on the roster? Probably David Bakhtiari, with Devontae Adams coming in a very close second, or in this case, third. But yeah, the Nagler no cam is undefeated. Well, that's good. Do we slow down on receiver pickups going forward, being that LaFleur wants to run more? That's a really interesting question because they obviously did select the 3 wide receivers in the draft, and they added Kumaro last year while Mike McCarthy was still calling the offense and designing the offense. And now, with 1 year, 1 draft under Gutekunst's belt with LaFleur designing and running and calling the offense, we didn't see any wide receiver selections, and that was a very rare occurrence under Ted Thompson, who always supplied McCarthy with a ton of wide receivers because he used so many of them. Obviously, it's way too early to say. I wouldn't be surprised if, the days of them bringing in a ton of guys are going to continue. But, they've still brought in a number of undrafted guys, and I think they'll still need bodies. I don't think 3-4 wide receiver sets are going to completely disappear. But I do think you will see more 2 tight end stuff, a little more power stuff, and that will lessen the need for so many bodies at wideout. A lot of Ty Summers love here. I'm liking it. Brian Bulaga, Iowa. What should we expect to see this season? A better offense or worse offense? Playoffs, what do you expect? It's a lot of crystal ball right there. Okay, better offense, yes. I think it'll be a more efficient offense, not necessarily higher scoring and or, I don't think it's going to challenge, say, the greatest show on turf right out of the gate as far as efficiency or point scoring. But I do think you're going to see a lot less frustration from the quarterback, a lot more manageable down and distances that do not end in frustration and fury. As far as do I expect playoffs or not, ask me again after the first couple weeks at camp when we get some semblance of an idea of the kind of roster they've assembled here. Yay for 13 personnel. I like it. Which of the Williamses will have more carries in 2019? Ooh, Eric, that's a really good question. Too early to say. My hunch is Jamal Williams, but you never know. Maybe Dexter makes a move. Do you see them picking up more free agents before training camp? On Culture Barbarian, I asked Brian Gutekunst that almost very exact question in my conversation with him at Nagler's Never Right. Available now at patreon.com/cheeseheadtv.com for any Patreon members. That's called a shameless plug. Oh, Matthew, I hope this is real. Will you please say hi to my kids, Peyton and Liam? They are 4 and 7 and love watching you. Peyton and Liam, I'm flattered. Thanks for watching. Do your homework, stay in school, be cool, go Pack Go. If we sign Nick Perry back, this team will be complete. Not sure I agree with your police work there, FDS. Jeff Janis is coming back. Well, they could use a gunner. If we sign Nick Perry, I already said that. Nags, who do you think has more upside, MVS or EQ? Julian, I love them both, but I'm going to go with MVS, simply because I think his speed and athleticism probably puts him over the top between the two. But it is no slight to EQ. I think he's a really promising prospect, really excited by what he put on film last year. But between the two, I think MVS has got the higher ceiling. Does Gary have a chance of going to linebacker? King, if you mean off ball, like in the middle, I doubt it. I think they will kick him inside with his hand on the ground on some downs, but I don't see him playing inside linebacker. I think he definitely will play outside linebacker, and he'll stand up and do some of the traditional outside linebacker duties on some early downs. But then I do think you'll see him kick inside with Za'Darius Smith and with Mike Daniels on occasion and with Kenny Clark on occasion. They're going to rotate a lot of those guys. It'll be fun. It was a joke, Aaron. Well, good, FTS. I don't know. We got people talking about Jeff Janis coming back, dude. I don't know. It's joking. There's no sarcasm, font. Who makes the team, Trevor Davis or Kumaro? Clint, that's probably a harder question to answer than maybe it appears on first blush. I think the obvious kind of would lean into answer is Kumaro, but Trevor Davis's speed and his ability can't be completely discounted. And if you go and just watch the tape, what he put on tape last year, obviously he was injured for a long time, and then he finally got on the field, and then he got injured again. But that small window of when he was on the field, not just as a returner, but as a gunner on special teams, he was excellent. He was really good on teams last year. So it's not like you can completely dismiss him. But I do think Kumaro offers more from scrimmage. And obviously, Rodgers loves throwing to the guy. That means something. Not a lot, but it means something. I would give the edge to Kumaro, but let's see what happens in camp. What are your expectations for Martinez this season? He overtakes Luke Kuechly as the best inside backer in the game. No, I'm kidding. I think he's going to continue down the road we saw last year. We're going to see him all over the map. He's going to be a playmaker in fits and starts. I don't think he's ever going to take over a game, so to speak. But I do find it intriguing how he has really kind of reshaped his body. I mean, he came back. He looks much thicker and much bigger, a lot more muscle there. And I'm interested to see how that affects him, especially some of that sideline-to-sideline stuff they ask him to do. Does it slow him down a little bit? Is he a little more stout in the run game, etc.? And I've said this for years, probably like 2 years. And I put it up on Twitter, and he responded to it, and he was very cool about it. So he knows how I feel. If he starts holding on to the football, he starts to become a true difference maker. He's got a number of dropped interceptions over the years where if he makes that play, it can change a game. Those are big-time plays. If he can just start holding on to the football, then he could really take that next step. I would consider 9 games without an injury for Bulaga an astronomical success. That would deserve a 4-year, $100 to $200 million deal. Ryan, I'm glad you're not in charge of handing out contracts, but I do agree that if Bulaga makes it 9-10 games, that's a win. Kumaro is no Jordy. Deborah, that is true, but I don't think anybody's asking him to be, except maybe on the internet. But you don't need to worry about that. Who is the backup center? Nick, probably Jenkins. Is the one guy who's played all 5 positions on the line. He has plenty of experience at center. Before this year, they didn't really have one. They had a bunch of guards snapping the football with the 2s and 3s, but Jenkins is a legit center. He can play, and he's undoubtedly the backup heading into 2019. Does Lazard get beat out Jamon Moore or get moved to tight end? Oh, man, that's a jump. I'm intrigued to see what they have there. We haven't really seen a whole lot of him, but I don't see him beating out Jamon Moore. I think they'll give Moore a little bit more than a year and a half to kind of state his case, especially as a draft pick versus an undrafted guy they got off waivers. Any indications of changes coming to training camp traditions, bike riding, etc.? This leadership team definitely doesn't seem to mind rocking the boat. They'll never get rid of the bike riding thing. That's no way. That will always be in Green Bay. Who knows who will be corporately sponsoring it all the time, but which you can rest assured will always be the case going forward. But they'll never get rid of the bike riding. As far as like how the setup will be for camp, stay tuned. We'll see what LaFleur has in mind. It's his program now. So there's no telling. I mean, we don't have a schedule yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be interesting with the co-practices with the Texans there early on. It's going to be exciting. Martinez on the jugs machine after practice. Couldn't hurt. Is there any other Packers front office coaching staff you would like to have a one-on-one interview with? I'd love to get LaFleur in here. We almost had him for transplants, and then that fell apart. But it'll happen. Will Rodgers be given the freedom to change play calls, and will they use more no-huddle offense? Bradley, that's a really good question on no-huddle. I can't imagine you're going to see more of it. Maybe, obviously, in 2-minute situations. I don't doubt that it will be part of their arsenal. As far as Rodgers at the line of scrimmage, I do not think he will have as much control as he had under McCarthy. I don't think that's a terrible thing. But as LaFleur diplomatically, put it, the whole design of the offense is, making sure that the calls that are given to him are going to be optimized, and he doesn't need to change out of them. Now, as he said, if you see something and you know that it's going to be a disaster, by all means, save us. I mean, if there's something that's obvious to Rodgers at the line of scrimmage, you don't tell a 2-time MVP, Super Bowl winning quarterback, just stick with what's called. He will obviously be given some leeway, but I think for the most part, it will be, what they've worked on all week and hopefully attacking defenses the way that his offense is designed to do. Fester 40, you are Cohen. Oh, it's definitely Cohen. Although I will say, I have in my possession one of the greatest failed Lambo leaps ever. A picture of it. That was young Mr. Cohen, I think 2 summers ago in Lambeau. It's outstanding. But yes, he would totally beat me in a 40. More impressed with LaFleur every time I hear him speak. Deborah, I'm kind of with you. I was not worried, but I was a little, with the first couple press conferences, you could tell he was very nervous. Who wouldn't be? I get that. But for a guy who closed the deal in his interview, you would expect to see a little bit more, maybe something a little bit more dynamic, but he's started to kind of ease into it, and you can definitely tell he's a lot more comfortable now. Lowry greater than Lancaster? Maybe. Let's see what kind of jump Lancaster takes, because let me tell you, he played pretty damn well last year. Pretty damn well. And I like Kyle, but we'll see. Who is going to be Rodgers' new sidekick in his commercials? Oh, man. It's tough. Probably Devontae. Get those California guys like to stick together. Oh, well, Ryan's got the perfect question to end this stream with. Would you rather have J.K. Scott or Mark Murphy's mom in the slot? Ryan, I think it's pretty obvious Mark Murphy's mom is the answer here. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to your question. There's always a ton. I can't imagine how... The idea that you all sit here and give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of your time, almost every day to talk Packers in early May is pretty incredible. Thank you so much for all your support. If you want to support cheeseheadtv.com and everything we do here, head over to Patreon. You can get exclusive access to my conversation with Brian Gutekunst. $5 a month supports not only everything you see at Patreon, but everything we do here, everything we do on the site. All of our video and podcasting efforts. Thank you so much. Please, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe. If you're on Facebook, share it with your friends, with your enemies, with your family, with your friends. It's all love when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.